Most producers overcomplicate their rumble kicks and wonder why their low end never sounds as good as their references. And so they waste hours on crafting a complex processing chain instead of actually progressing with their track. Now, after working with over 400 producers and helping them finish music they're actually proud of, I've developed a simple technique that nails the rumble kick every time, and here's how it works. So this is a track I'm currently working on, and by the way, all of the drums are the drums that I've created in the last tutorial. And I'll just play the first few bars for you so you get an idea. Now this track isn't even fully mixed and mastered. This is just in like the, let's say, later production stages. But you notice that the low end already sounds very tight. I can hear the kick drum. I get this like energy from the sub bass that the rumble kick creates. And now when you go and solo the kick drum and the rumble, it sounds like this. Now, this track overall came together really quickly in a single session, and one of the reasons why this was possible is because I didn't waste hours trying to craft the perfect, super complex rumble kick chain. What I want to do right now is show you exactly how I did this, so you can just copy it and use it in your own productions to actually make progress with your music instead of procrastinating on finishing your track. So for this track, I've used the DS Drum Synth engine by Ableton. Now, if you don't have access to that, no problem. You can also do this with any other drum synth, or you use some kind of sample. That's also no problem. The chain itself will still work, and I'll give you some pointers on how to do that. We start with our kick drum, very normal. We'll set this to something that actually makes sense for us. I can actually keep the pitch. I'll just use a little bit of drive here. So until we have like a good starting point kick sound. What you can do inside Ableton is you can directly do everything on one channel. To be completely honest with you, usually I separate out the kick and the rumble so I have individual control over everything. But if I want to work really, really fast and just get my idea out of my head into the DAW as quickly as possible, I just throw it in like this. We group the whole thing. And what this allows us to do is to then duplicate that channel. And now we've basically two identical copies of that specific kick drum. What's really important is you just want to do the processing that we're now doing on the second one, which is the rumble. So we can actually rename this here and even give it a different color so we're not getting confused here. And in the rumble chain here, the first thing you want to do is use the delay, and always make sure to actually have that happening in the group. If you're outside here, then it's doing this for both of these channels. If you're doing it inside here, this is just on the rumble and not on the kick. So the way I like to do is, first of all, I want to separate this rumble from the original kick. So instead of keeping these settings the same, I'll actually pitch it down as deeply as I can, because the rumble is supposed to be a sub bass, so I don't want this to be too high. Now I also don't need any click sounds in that, so that we can get rid of that. And kind of the drive and so on, the decay, we can tweak these things. So typically with a rumble, you want to have like a little bit of a longer decay and maybe a bit less of the envelope. We'll see. So this is something you have to listen and figure out. Bring the delay down to just focus on the very low end here. Within seconds, we actually have this delayed rumble kick here that we could work with. Right now, we're still hearing the hits of the individual kick, but it is kind of like a moving sub bass thing. And this is something we can work with and tweak within seconds. So the characteristic of a typical rumble kick is that it has some of this smear. So there's some kind of distortion feeding some kind of reverb, and there are a million different techniques you can use. What I like to do is to actually use something really gritty like the amp. Go to the bass section. And the idea is not to get beautiful distortion on this. The idea is to really create that smear, that grit, that texture. Now you have different options. You can either feed that distorted amp signal into a reverb, or you can first of all feed the whole thing into a reverb and then distort, or you can do both. Yeah, and this is where I don't want you to go crazy and make it overly complex, and we'll just very quickly experiment with what sounds best. Now for the hybrid reverb, I want you to select just the algorithmic side of things, so just the right side here. We don't need the realistic rooms for that kick. We actually want something that is very textured, very dark. I actually like the shimmer, and we pitched this down. So the shimmer creates like a texture reverb on top of the original signal. So this is creating a sub-octave below that, which is super, super deep. Maybe we don't need that, so we can keep it in the original octave, or we can create a slight harmony here. So all of that can sound cool. It's one of those scenarios where you can set the bass to mono and it probably will make sense. Not always, but in this case, when you want this like super deep sub-rumble kick, and experiment with the feedback here, because that feeds some of that signal back into the reverb and it actually creates an additional texture sound. So listen to that. So if you want some more saturation and overdrive on your reverb, you can then go for like a second saturator or an overdrive or something like that. I actually like the overdrive quite a bit for that. We can not only target specific frequencies and so on, you can also use this dynamic setting to squash the signal even more. So 0% is literally no dynamics left. 100% is like retain all the dynamics. Dominic is actually making a video specifically on this, so I will not get too deep into this. Now, overall, the rumble is too loud. I'm completely aware of that, but this is what we'll fix right now. And we're almost done. Like, this is so quickly. And we will use something like Shaper Box. You could also do it with the Ableton Shaper quite similarly. This is just a tool that I use mostly, and I know a lot of people have this. Go to the volume sidechaining, bring this in here. It ducks this rumble chain in the moment where the kick hits. If the kick is happening here, the rumble is happening here, and we can then kind of fine-tune this and see like if any of the other curves work best. I don't fine-tune this to perfection right now because this is not the goal. We want to have something that quickly sounds good. So I think this one is actually a quite good curve. Probably we don't mix it in completely. We keep some of that original grid in here, so it just ducks it slightly against the kick. And we can then trim the overall signal here so that it sits better in the mix. So I'll just bring this down completely, and then I'll feed this in until it sounds good in combination with the kick drum. If that rumble is too present for you and you don't want it to be as tonal as it is right now, and you want it to have like a bit more of a sub boost without creeping into the upper bass areas, you can use the auto filter. Yeah, I'll probably do the auto filter before the shaper. I think it's just a bit cleaner in this way, so I treat the dynamics and final leveling after this. I wanted to experiment with boosting the resonance up quite a bit in the low end, and then finding some sweet spots in here where it actually locks in with the kick drum. So the kick drum is bouncing on top of the rumble, and the rumble itself is kind of pushing the low end underneath. If you found something that you like, then play around a little bit with the drive and like see, okay, how does that change the characteristics of the low end? You can also try out different filters here. Yeah, I like this one, this characteristic quite a bit. And obviously bring down the level a bit again, because if you push the drive, you have to compensate for that here. And then you can make your low end bounce if you want by using this LFO here. So the LFO basically moves this filter around a little bit. Don't go crazy because it will start to sound weird really quickly. Just give it a tiny bit of movement. I would try to find a setting where it actually locks in really nice with the kick drum. So right now this is on hertz. If you want this to sync to the tempo, you can do this as well. And you can say, for example, I want this to bounce back and forth. Now it's bouncing with the kick drum. If you want to move it in the other direction when the kick drum hits, it actually goes down. You have to shift the phase here. So the phase of this LFO. And obviously there's an option to keep some of that filtering in and some of that not. And yes, that creates like some phasing within the low end, but that doesn't necessarily need to be a bad thing. You decide what you want to do in your music, and phase is also a creative tool that you can use. Or you decide to go a bit higher overall and have that movement on top. And we always kept the kick drum front and center, and we haven't even mixed anything. So if we go to the kick drum, we can actually make this smack even harder now that we have the rumble here. So we can do a kick chain here that emphasizes this. Maybe, for example, a little bit of compression on the kick drum. Do some EQing, and I intentionally try to boost the frequency areas in the kick drum that are not that covered by the rumble. The punch of the kick drum that I feel in my chest, I want to emphasize that. And this is something that happens typically within 80, 90, up until to something like 150, 60, maybe 200-ish. And then if you want to overall glue those two together and create like a super massive low end, you can then put behind all of those something like a glue compressor. And this is like a decision you want to make creatively. So I don't always do this. You can go for either a very glued massive low end, or you can go for something that's more separated, which in most cases I actually go for the more separated low end. In this case, I actually love the texture that this creates. So I want to have something that is glued and just works as one thing, which also makes sense because it is on one channel, like I designed it here. And for that, we use like, I would say like a medium to slow-ish attack time, relatively fast release time. And yeah, let's keep the ratio quite high at 4. This is already clipping, as you can see. It can be part of the desired sound. So you can activate the soft clipping to feed some of saturation into that clipping circuit. And if you really want to get the most out of this, you can then go for a limiter. You don't really have to do all of these last steps that I did to just continue with your song. I'm just showing you what is possible overall with this type of chain. So let's check that out. We'll set this to maximize and really feed stuff into the limiter here. Now this glues it together quite nicely. Overall, now the very sub-bass frequencies are a little bit overpowering. You can then control this by just using that main volume here and just feed some of that rumble in. Very nice. If overall in your mix the kick kind of gets lost, you can then go to the EQ once again, and you try to find some of the upper harmonics of the kick where it actually feels like it's slapping you in the face, so you want to bring out those frequencies later on. This, for example. And those are sounds that are not important right now. I just want you to know where to look for them. To conclude this, I will show you this in context with some of the percussion sounds so that it's not just like the kick drum alone with everything else. So I will just mute the original kick from the track that I had created and instead show you what this sounds like with the rest. So I'll just mute the lead as well. Later section. So now you know exactly how to create rumble kicks fast, but you can still run into low-end issues in your mix. So watch that video next, in which I show you exactly how to identify these problems and solve them in seconds.